Hello, everyone. Um, I'm home, sick. I'm not sick. My son is sick. You can see him in the background, sleeping. I'm kind of expecting him to still be sick tomorrow, so I am making the screencast for you to prepare for your day tomorrow. So follow along with me if you could. I want to talk to you about something called signposts today. And to start it off, I want to ask you this question. What would you do if a friend, one who normally sits with you at lunch each day, came in and sat in the far corner, far away from you in the cafeteria? Think about that for a second. How would you respond? Most people would probably wonder what happened, why. Um, why is your friend not sitting with you when that's normally what he or she does? Is my friend mad at me? Does my friend not like me anymore? Um, what's going on, right? You would probably ask those questions, right? Well, that brings us to another question. When we think about literature, novels, fiction, how does an author show us that a character is changing or developing? This is a question that we're going to look at a lot this unit, in our characterization unit. And it's an important one because if we can figure out how an author does something, then it helps us to understand more about what's happening in the story and why it's happening. And it even helps us in our real life too. Um, and we can talk more about that later. So, the whole idea with signposts is that they help us, when we're reading, they help us make inferences. And an inference, remember, means an educated guess. It means that we use clues that we see in a story and we use information we already know about life to figure out what's happening. And there are 6 signposts that we're going to learn about this year. Today, I want to teach you 2 of them. I want to teach you about contrasts and contradictions and about the again and again signpost. So let's start with contrasts and contradictions. Every time we see a signpost in our reading, we're going to ask a specific question, a question that is assigned to that signpost. So anytime that we see a contrast and contradiction, we're going to ask the question, why is the character doing that? So the perfect example is back to this first question. What would you do if a friend who normally sits with you at lunch each day came in and sat in the far corner, far away from you in the cafeteria? That is a contrast because it's not the typical thing your friend would do. It contrasts their typical behavior. And so when you see that happen in real life, you ask yourself, why is my friend doing that? Well, we want you to do the same thing when you're reading a novel and there are fictional characters. And this fictional character does something that they normally wouldn't do, right? So I don't know how many of you are familiar with Harry Potter, the series Harry Potter, but there's this character named Hermione. And there are some things that Hermione always does. She always studies. She always knows what to do. Okay. She is always doing homework or learning, you know. Um, she's very responsible, right? So if um, if one day Hermione came into her class and she didn't have her homework done, we would ask ourselves, oh man, what's going on with Hermione? Why did she not have her homework done? Because that is a contrast or a contradiction in her character. That's not how she normally would behave. So that is using the contrast and contradiction signpost. It says in here, if Hermione were to not have her homework done, we would wonder what is happening because that is not part of her personality. The change in her behavior contradicts what we've come to expect of her. When authors show us something that doesn't fit with what we expect, when they present us with a contrast or a contradiction, then we want to pause and ask ourselves one question. Why would the character act this way? Okay? So typically I'd show you a video here, and we're going to skip it for now because there's a part in here that I wanted to talk to you about before you watched it. But there's this really great movie called The Blind Side. And in the movie The Blind Side, it's realistic fiction, but it's based on the real life of a real person, Michael Orr. And Michael Orr is playing football, but he doesn't really know how to be rough and tough. He's a very gentle person. However, he's also a very protective person. And his foster mom, who's played by Sandra Bullock, she comes into this football practice after watching play after play after play not go so well. She comes in and she talks to him about pretending like the different football players are members of his family, because he knows how to be protective of his family members, meaning her and her son and husband and daughter and that sort of thing. And after she does this, it completely changes the way he behaves. He starts pushing and getting rough and tough during those football practices, and the plays work, and he's doing great. And so it's a contrast because we're expecting him to behave one way, and then suddenly his behavior changes, and he's now behaving a different way. And so we ask ourselves, why did Michael Orr suddenly change his behavior? Why did he change? Well, it had to do with what she said to him and the fact that she knew him really well, and she knew exactly what to say to him to get him motivated in the right way. And so that helps us understand a lot about their relationship and about the two of them. So that's contrasts and contradictions. The second signpost I want to tell you about is called Again and Again. And every time we notice this happening in our novels, we're going to ask a different question. The question will be, why does this keep showing up again and again? So we learn from a very young age. We learn about patterns. We learn about people when we notice patterns. We learn about our friends. We learn about enemies. We learn about all kinds of things, even animals, and creatures and plants, and I don't know, all kinds of stuff. So this signpost, Again and Again, is about noticing those patterns, particularly when that pattern is something that repeats again and again. Okay, so this repeating pattern begins to tell us something if we notice it and give it some thought. So now I want you to imagine this scenario. You are sitting at lunch with a group of people when one of your friends comes and joins you. The original group becomes quiet, and slowly they get up and leave the table. You may not notice anything the first time that someone gets up and leaves, but after the second, third, fourth person gets up and leaves, you're going to notice a pattern. When you notice that pattern, you need to ask yourself, why does this happen again and again? So I'm not going to play this for you either because it'll be in your heads all day, but Frozen, the movie Frozen, has a song called Do You Want to Build a Snowman? Right? Y'all know that song. And over again, you see her, Anna, knocking on her sister's door, on Elsa's door. Over and over and over, again and again and again. She knocks on the door and asks that same question. Do you want to build a snowman? Right? And so we, as the viewers of that, are supposed to stop and ask, why does she continue to ask? Do you know why? Because I think I do. I think that she continues to ask that question because she is not giving up on her sister. She is not giving up on the relationship that she had with her when they were little, and she doesn't understand why her sister won't play with her anymore, but she's not going to give up. She loves her sister so much that she will not give up no matter how many times she's kind of rejected by her, right? So it really shows us the amount of love that Anna has for Elsa. Now there is a video here I do want to play for you, and I'm going to have it played once my video stops here. But I want you to try to find contrasts and contradictions and the again and again signpost in this video. This video is called Snack Attack. And so once you find contrast and contradiction, I want you to ask the question, why would the character do that? And once you find the again and again signpost, ask, why does this keep happening again and again? And see if those questions help you understand the video or the story at a little bit of a deeper level. All right? And we'll pick this up tomorrow to talk about it more. Good luck.